What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Booster here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we are going to go over the brand new Fusion schedule for Lord Entertainer Fabian. We'll do our best navigating the schedule and the events, and then we will try to maximize our resources and efficiency throughout the Fusion schedule. So I'm going to try my best to help you guys along because this Fusion is pretty important, especially for those still progressing through the game. So let's dive right into it. So literally the events just started. We got the first event showing up right now. We got the Dragon Tournament starting up for the tournament sections. And for the events, we have the training event, and then we have the Dungeon Divers starting in 30 minutes. Keep that all in mind. But we're going to go over the Fusion calendar here. They just released it 15 minutes ago. All right, guys, let's start off here with some really good news. On day one, we actually have the Dungeon Divers opening with the Dragon Tournament and the Champion Training event. This is a little bit of a rare occurrence. Usually, Dungeon Divers doesn't start on day one. So, this is kind of nice. Also allows for basically triple dipping opportunities here. Dungeon Diver, Dragon, and Training. Very good events that pair together very well. What I mean by triple dipping is that you can basically accumulate points for all three events by doing one of the events. What I mean by this is if you're farming Dragon Tournament, there is opportunity for some teams to be able to farm food as well. This means you're getting gear and farming champions at the same time. Also, I want to point out that the Fabian fusion will be a traditional fusion, which means you have to collect the rare champions, level them up, ascend them, rank them up to level 40, and then fuse those rare champions into the epic champions, which you will then level up and ascend them up to level 50, and then fuse the epics into Fabian himself. This is the hardest style of fusion. And to make matters worse, the epic is a void epic here. Now, we did go over the kits for the rare and the void epic really quickly in one of my previous videos, and the rare is not too bad, but honestly, both of them, they're not, you're not going to really miss them if you just fuse them up. So don't worry about that. Since it is a traditional fusion, you do require some potions as well. So I just have a quick little clip here on what kind of potions you're going to need. You're going to need blue potions as well as the white potions and the void potions. So make sure you guys have enough of this to complete the fusion. Keep in mind that the void potions will come only once a week. So make sure you guys have this ready to go. All right, so quickly back to the schedule here. So on day one, you do have the Dragon Training and Dungeon Divers all together. This is really nice to see. The Dragon Tournament is just the usual 2250 points, which means you're going to spend between about 2,200 or around 2,500, 2,600, depending on what level of dragon you're farming. If you guys are relatively new to fusions, basically level 20 is one of the most efficient stages you probably should be farming in terms of getting points for fusions. If you can't do level 20, you can drop down to level 16 and it's still relatively efficient. Outside of that, level 24 is more efficient than 25, and then you're going to be doing all the hard dungeons in terms of level of efficiency. So depending on how much energy you have to spend and how efficient you want to be, that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for about level 16, level 20, either of those ones are fine, or you're doing hard 10, and then 24, and then the rest of hard. Okay, guys. So the problem here is that the Dungeon Diver most likely is going to cost you about 3,700 points, Dungeon Diver points, which means it's going to be about 5,000 energy. So the biggest issue here with the first couple of days of the fusion is that you don't have another event that kind of wraps into the Dungeon Diver after the Dragon Tournament. So when you spend 2,300 energy in the Dragon Tournament, you're not going to be fully completing the Dungeon Diver, which means you're going to have to find more energy to put into the Dungeon Diver, probably into the training. So campaign might come into play here. Or you can load up with more energy into the Dragon Tournament and then collect more Dungeon Diver point a little bit more efficiently in terms of spending energy. You can also sell the gear, which gets you a little bit of silver as well. You're going to need it for these gear enhancement events. You're going to see 3 of them here, the standard 3. Each one of these takes about 15 to 20 million silver, depending on your luck. We're also going to be seeing CVC happening right here. So we got the CVC happening. which means potentially you're basically quad dipping, right? You're dipping into Dungeon Divers, Dragon, Champion Training, and CVC all at the same time. Keep in mind, Dragon is not the best for CVC points, but you're getting a little bit here for CVC as well, so it's pretty good. At this point in the calendar, you're basically looking to spend a lot of your saved up energy to complete the first dungeon diver. So yeah, looking to spend about 5,000 energy throughout the first 3 days. Okay, so after that, we have the Ice Golem event basically kind of in limbo. So with this kind of free day going on Friday, you're probably finishing off the champion training tournament. You could pair that with Ice Golem. There are some teams where you can kind of farm food as you're doing Ice Golem. But at this stage, I wouldn't go crazy with energy spend just because there's no Dungeon Diver active when Ice Golem is active. So just keep that in mind. And then as we enter the first weekend, there is the Summon Rush. Now we got to keep a close eye on what's going on with the Summon Rush here because we can see here that the Epic is up for grabs. Now keep in mind, it is a Void Epic. And in the past, Plarium has valued Void Epics much higher in terms of points. So I would not be surprised to see this somewhere around 10 or 12 Sacred Shards worth of points. So between 5,000 and 6,000 points if you want to get the Epic. Now, if you get the Epic, that means you can skip four. You can skip 4 rares. Now, that's very valuable if you have the amount of shards necessary to get the Epic. It gives you a lot of flexibility on the second half of the fusion. If you need that, for example, you can skip the champion chase entirely. You can skip some dungeon divers. You can skip some champion training, for example. But obviously, 10 to 12 sacred shards worth of points is pretty significant. So if you guys are strapped for shards, nothing you can do. You can't get the epic. You still have to complete every single rare until the very end of the fusion schedule. But my guess here would be about 3,000 for the rare. So if you have 6 sacred shards or 5 sacred shards and mystery shards, you can get the rare and still continue on with the fusion. If you want to get the void, I would say it's a minimum of 10 sacred shards at least. I would say probably closer to 12, considering that Fabian's a good fusion. Clarion probably knows that. And, the price of things just go up over time. So I would totally expect them to lean closer to maybe 12 sacred shards worth. Also, another bit of a logjam here is the second dungeon diver. Now, the second dungeon diver is going to line up with the ice golem, but only partially. And like I said, the dungeon tournaments take about 2,300 energy to complete. And usually these dungeon divers take about 5,000 energy to complete. So you would have finished the Ice Golem tournament without completing the Dungeon Divers. And then afterwards, there's no real event you would throw energy into other than maybe champion training. You would throw some energy in here into campaign maybe. But it's a lot of energy to spend to complete the Dungeon Divers. So the same situation that's happening in the first couple days will happen over the weekend. Now, these are not good situations because what you want to see is have Dungeon Divers line up with 2 tournaments so that you can complete 2 tournaments while having both tournament points go into the dungeon divers. In this case, there's only 1 tournament that goes into 1 dungeon diver, and then you still have to send more energy into the dungeon diver to complete it, but suboptimally. So far, it looks quite difficult. At least it's going to be a very high energy spend fusion so far for the first week. So moving on from that, we have the Spider tournament here, again, 2,300. And again, this tournament is a little bit in limbo. It doesn't really line up super well with the Dungeon Diver 2 event. And then it ends without connecting with Dungeon Diver 3. So this Spider tournament is basically, you're just sending energy into it without having it contribute to a Dungeon Diver. Now, you don't want that in a fusion schedule. This means that the energy spend for this fusion is going to be very, very high. Lastly, we have the Fire Knight tournament here, 2,300 energy. It's going into Dungeon Diver 3, which again is going to cost you minimum 5,000 energy. Probably closer to 5,500 depending on what level you farm. All these Dungeon Divers probably closer to 5,500 energy. And Yeah, this is the only dungeon tournament that goes into the dungeon divers. Now, you have to find the rest of the dungeon diver points, but there's no other event that you want to spend it on to finish up the dungeon divers. So there's going to be a lot of extra energy that you're going to need to spend to finish off the dungeon divers. Now, this means that getting the epic here gives you a lot of value. Now, I'm going to say this to be conservative. You probably want all the dungeon divers to have at least 5,500 energy to complete them. So I would say probably closer to 5,500, not 5,000. For this champion chase here, I would probably expect about 2,500 to 3,000 for the last rare. Silver lining here is that for the champion chase, it shouldn't be 2x voids. So void shards are pretty good value for champ chase. So it might be 30 or 40 void shards, and then you can finish off the champion chase. Other bit of relief here is that the epics, you can fuse them all during the champion chase. So if you have 4 of these void epics to fuse during the champion chase, that means it's going to be an additional 1,400 points going towards the chase. So, potentially the chase could be very easy to bang out if you have all the epics ready and all that. Something else that is interesting that you probably should look out for is that after this champion training in the middle of the second week, there's no more champion training to end off the fusion event. This makes me think that there's probably going to be a hero's path or a deck of fate somewhere around here. Somewhere around here, there's probably going to be a deck or a path that's probably going to be related to champion training. We're not too sure. Maybe it's going to be the start of the Titan event or something like that. And I'm not too sure, but I would totally expect that there is some special event near the end of the Fabian fusion schedule. Something that's going to be like super enticing. So now that we actually took a look at each of the events and the schedule as a whole, I will have to say that this schedule looks rather difficult, especially since it is a traditional fusion where you have to collect all the rares, level up all the rares, and then fuse the epics, and then level up the epics, and then fuse the epics into Fabian. This is the hardest style. Not only is it the hardest style, the event structure is actually very difficult. And what I mean by difficult is that obviously it's hard to, triple dip or get more value from your resources based on the structure of the schedule. The other part is that it's going to be a pretty big resource sink. What I mean by that is that it's going to be a big energy sink just based on how the dungeon divers are spread out amongst the dungeon tournaments. Now, the silver lining here is that if you can pick up the extra void epic from the first summon rush, this difficult fusion becomes much easier because now you can skip Dungeon Diver 2 and Dungeon Diver 3 along with the champion chase. This basically gets rid of 2 of the really hard events, which are the dungeon divers. And this is basically where a lot of your energy spend is going to be coming from. And it's going to be extra energy on top of that. So my plan personally, I would probably go for the extra epic in the first summon rush. I would probably skip Dungeon Diver 2, Dungeon Diver 3. So that's a big chunk of energy that I don't have to commit, which means energy that I would have saved. I would probably skip the champion chase, depending on how bad it is, because we've seen in the past that Plarium has increased the cost of champion chases based on how it lines up with the fusion pieces. What I mean by that is because there is a possibility of 4 void epics that you can save from the fusion for the champion chase at the end. They might factor that in and increase the cost of the champion chase. So if you guys are not saving your epics until the champion chase, you guys are putting yourselves at a big disadvantage if Plarium decides to increase the cost. So for me, if they increase the cost, I think I would probably skip the champion chase as well. So I skip both dungeon divers, I'd skip the champion chase, and then I probably would just skip the Fire Knight at the end, just because there's no real reason for me to like slam a bunch of energy in the Fire Knight. But it might be okay. I might want to conserve the energy for potentially the deck or the path that I think is going to happen near the end of this fusion. Um, we've been seeing a lot of like Sand Devil tournaments and stuff like that almost every week, maybe like every other week at this point. So there's going to be like some extra places where you can spend your energy, and for me, the 2x void event is not high value for me. I usually just save my void shards anyways. So I don't participate in 2x void events for myself personally. But for people that are still progressing through the game, still can really benefit from void epics and all that. Pulling for extra chances at void epics, really good. And like I said, it gives pretty good value for champion chase events. So it's not a bad time for you to do it, especially if you guys are going for the fusion. Pulling voids for the champion chase is probably a pretty good idea, because you can complete the fusion, you can get 2x chances on void epics and obviously void legendaries, and then you guys can complete the chase a lot easier or more efficiently with the void shards. One more quick look at the potion requirements up here at the top right hand corner if you guys need it. Make sure you guys have the potions ready. Make sure you guys have enough silver to fuse Fabian at the very last second, because it costs like 1 million or something. So you guys don't want to be, out. You guys don't want to be short 1 million silver. And yeah, I'm sure Plarium is going to give us a lot of juicy events to distract us along the way. So make sure you guys are focused on what you guys are trying to do in terms of finishing this fusion. Don't let too many things distract you. And of course, like there's going to be events that will line up with probably getting his 5-star soul. I would assume that the Titan event would start right after his fusion for his 5-star soul. And if you guys can do the Titan event for his soul, it's going to be worthwhile because he's going to be really benefit from the 5-star accuracy. And I mean, at the end of the day, the champion is the main prize of it all. So don't worry about what's going to happen afterwards. As long as you can finish Fabian, the soul can come with time. If you can't complete the Titan event, if this is your first fusion, these things, they're high resource, intensive events. Keep in mind that if you're playing free to play and you're grinding, all the allowable energy per day, you're getting about 1,000 energy per day. So if you see some of these events and, for example, the dungeon diver is 5,500-ish energy for 3 days. So these type of events require you to either have gems, using gems, or using inbox energy, or event energy, Central's energy, Doom Tower energy, Clan Shop energy, just stuff like that. You have to find the energy elsewhere. But if you're using regenerate energy in dailies, you're probably getting about 900 to 1,000 per day, if you're 100% efficient. So yeah, these fusions, they take extra, effort, right? They take extra effort in preparation. And this fusion in particular is actually going to be quite difficult for a lot of people. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit more resource heavy. I want to reiterate that I will probably be going for the extra epic so that I have some flexibility in the back half. I'm still in Japan right now, so I'm still juggling, time zones and play flexibility. So having a little bit of flexibility will be helpful for me. Make sure you guys, during personal reward CVC, do all your crafting, use your forge, generate silver and all that, so you guys are prepared for the 3 artifact enhancement events coming up. And yeah, that's going to be it for the video, guys. Hopefully it was helpful for you guys. Best of luck to everyone going for the fusion. I hope you guys get them. It should be a game changer for a lot of people. He's a great CC champion and all that. Yeah, he's gonna be great. But anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know in the comments below if I missed something, or if there's something that I went over too quickly, or if there's something that wasn't clear. Let me know, guys. Let me know. And best of luck, and I'll see you guys in the next one.